Hello, and welcome to another episode of Leader Generation brought to you by ModApp. I'm your host, Tessa Burg. Today, I'm joined by Jon Gillham. He's the founder of Originality.ai, and we are going to talk about how you can increase your visibility in LLMs without falling into the AI slop trap. Jon, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks, Tessa. Thanks for having me.
So we know a lot of the listeners are our clients, and content marketing has always played a massive role in going to market in B2B and even in B2C for building communities and connections. It's a big part of brands. Before we dive into the importance of content marketing today, the role it can play, and how we connect and reach our customers, tell us a little bit about your background and your role at Originality.ai.
Yeah, thanks. So Originality, I'll sort of skip to the end when we launched, and then I'll talk back. But we actually ended up launching Originality as the first commercially available AI detector. We actually ended up launching 3 days before ChatGPT launched. And we had seen, so the background before that was that I've been in the world of digital marketing, content marketing, had built and sold a content marketing agency, had a portfolio of websites, and had seen this wave of generative AI coming that predated ChatGPT. So on tools like Jasper, Writesonic, and there was others. And we had a content marketing agency, and we struggled to be able to say we had a policy around AI use, but we struggled to have a sort of mitigating control around when it was or wasn't used. So we built an AI detector, evaluated its effectiveness, launched it, and then yeah, 3 days later, ChatGPT launched, and it's been on sort of an interesting ride since then.
Yeah, I mean, interesting to say the least. That is quite a time
Mhm.
to start a company, especially when I feel like no one expected ChatGPT to have the impact, the immediate impact that it did.
Yeah, I mean, I think I was very early to using it. Like certainly like day one when it launched, like 100 billion other people in the world, but it was uh pretty interesting. But I mean, even somebody that had been using AI before, like with AI writing tools, I mean, it was just sort of an improved wrapper on GPT-3, which I had played with GPT-3, and it was impressive. And so yeah, I think I wasn't surprised at the adoption, but I was really surprised at the length of this sort of bubble that it has created.
Yeah. And now it's having like tentacles into so many different types of applications and use. And before we push record, I was saying I get so annoyed when people just generate content that so clearly came out of ChatGPT and didn't make it their own. So when you were, I think it's really insightful that you were ahead of recognizing that there's going to be this problem. Like when you were doing the early days of Originality.ai, what were some of the problems and challenges that you were solving for clients, and who are some of the clients that you have?
Yeah, so the clients that we have are some of the really big cross section. We have students, we have writers. The who we build for are people that are publishing content on the web. So people that are doing digital marketing and want to who used to use a plagiarism detector and now use Originality as a plagiarism detector, fact checker, AI detector. And so we're sort of every activity that a content editor does when they receive a piece of text, anything that, so if you function as an editor because you have a team of writers, you receive their text, and before you publish it, we are a toolkit for a copy editor to make sure their content meets the standards of that company. And so when sort of pre-ChatGPT, what we were building was a plagiarism checker that was sort of a modern approach to plagiarism checking, and then an AI detection tool because AI was still being heavily used. I mean, AI writing tools like Jasper got a $1.5 billion valuation off the backs of its sort of adoption and its revenue growth. And so there was usage in pockets, but then ChatGPT just blew it up, and it went incredibly kind of horizontal.
So, for marketers who are being pressured to do more with less, create more content, especially with personalization being so important as a main piece. Like we want to have a story or want to have an experience, but then we also wanted to have it personalized. A lot of people are kind of falling into this trap of using ChatGPT to at least maybe do a first draft, a second draft, a third draft. And so some of the content is written by, an LLM. How do you break down what is and is not AI slop and what is and is not a good use of LLMs as it's related to writing and generating content?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. And so a quote that I like to say, and actually ended up getting quoted on the Daily Show or the Last Week Tonight with John Oliver on it. But
Oh my God.
it's that like not all AI content is slop, but in 2025, all spam is certainly AI generated. And so you're right that not all AI is spam or slop. Um, but right now, certainly any spam is being generated by AI. The what we like to say is that companies should be deciding on what the appropriate use of AI is, and then applying tools to make sure that that usage is being followed. So if that's some companies are no AI ever, period. And so there's a lot of pharmaceutical users, pharmaceutical companies that use our platform where the amount of AI they want to know that each word that has been written was done by a human with humans reviewing it, and that there's no opportunity for AI to get in there and introduce risk. And then there's other use cases where there's a lot more tolerance for AI research and AI editing. And so the important thing is that there's sort of a policy that is agreed to, and then the appropriate tool gets used to sort of police that policy. And so originally we have different models that have different sensitivity. And so if you want no AI ever, we have a turbo model. If there's sort of like, yeah, 5 to 10% of the text being edited by AI, that's cool. We have a model that's called our light model that allows for sort of AI editing.
Oh, I love that. So you can scale it up or down. And I think there's some people in a camp that would be, well, how big of a deal is it? Like, what's the cost to the company or the brand if they decide to loosen up those parameters and go all light?
Yeah. Yeah. So all light, no problem. I think as long as there's a human in the loop and it's quality content, I think I think that's where we are. That's a pretty good use case of AI. If that has helped you produce a better piece of work, then that's great. Where the biggest risk is AI running unhinged with, you go to junior marketer, they fire up and get an API access or get really efficient with ChatGPT and publish 100 blog posts a month with limited or no reading of the content with no added value, and you're just producing derivative work that reads well, but it's just slop that isn't adding unique value into the world. And that's where companies are the most at risk of things going really wrong. Things can go less wrong than that, but that's the sort of most common path that we see that things go really wrong. Is somebody thinking they're doing a good job, having no guidance, and then just going to town with AI.
Yeah, and I can relate to thinking doing a good job. I remember being young in marketing and having really aggressive goals. And so I
Right.
wanted, to meet them. And one of the goals where I think you start to entertain using LLMs and AI more is visibility, is when you want to
Yep.
rank, you want to be in more places that your brand, your product, service is going to get discovered. Is quantity of content a big thing for visibility, or are there other factors that marketers should really be focusing on and pairing with authenticity to increase visibility in LLMs?
Yeah, so LM visibility, fascinating sort of item to study right now. What it's what there's certainly some theories that are out there. Some of the stats that have been sort of, I'd say, reasonably proven that suggest things that you can be doing that helps your content be showing up in LMs more is giving LMs what they want, which is the confidence to know that that content was high quality. So adding citations into in links, and showing where you got your stats from, so that the LLM can have higher confidence in knowing that that content that you is based on sort of foundational knowledge. And I'll sort of expand on that a little bit. We've done some studies looking at if LLMs are more likely or less likely to cite AI generated or human generated content. It's similar, but there's some cases where it's clear that AI is sort of the companies that build these AIs are concerned about the risk of grounding. So if an AI answer is grounded in a response from somewhere else that was AI generated, then it's just a snake that's eating its own tail, and that can lead to model collapse, accelerating bias. And so adding citations so that LLMs know the sort of the source of your information is great. Statistics is sort of another item that is proven to increase LLM visibility. So if you can add statistics into your content, especially if you can create some unique statistics, have that as sort of the feature of the content and explain it, that's really, really good. And quotes. So those are sort of three of the main things that like citations, stats, and quotes are often are definitely attributed to higher visibility in LLM search.
I'm literally taking notes because when I think about working with clients to do their content strategies, there's some really great ways to generate that level of quality in your content, like citations, doing your own sort of market research, even looking at your company internally and getting a pulse on what thought leaders within your own company think about specific trends and tasks, statistics, looking at the data that you have. Are there other avenues to monetize that data if you analyze it and slice it and dice it in different ways? And then quotes. I think that a lot of B2B marketers don't realize the trove of expertise and knowledge they're sitting on, and that there's actually a very big opportunity for them to start translating that into on-brand, unique points of view that will increase their visibility in LLMs.
Yeah, I mean, it's for sure. I mean, anytime that you have knowledge that goes beyond the sort of the hive mind of the world, which is sort of what LLMs have ingested, and you can produce something unique that is outside of their training data. They want to be ingesting that, and so producing content that is unique to your specialty, geographic, wherever that sort of Venn diagram of your own knowledge and skill set creates some unique advantage, is the sweet spot you want to be creating content. The world does not, and sort of what's like the opposite? What's the stuff that has really limited value in producing in 2025? And that's sort of just the like top 5 ways to do X. Right. And that's super generic, already been covered. You've got no unique take on it, no unique data. That type of content that can get answered by an AI overview, you're not going to be cited because there's already tons of other content. You don't have a unique take. That type of content is a pretty big waste of time in kind of this world.
I agree. It feels like a much higher bar than when we used to think about SEO, or even when you would try and create like listicles to go viral. I legitimately remember like 3 jobs ago, we spent a lot of time trying to think of like what we were going to create for its viralness, or the level of viral
right.
Potentially go. And there's in that, what I learned from that is you overinvest in trying to capture lightning in a bottle. But then the other extreme is, after you've put in too much of that investment, you underinvest in having an original point of view.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah.
And so I think for marketers, it's about finding, that balance. And there are other ways to use AI to generate content that have nothing to do with writing it.
Right.
And when you look at that the word slop, and that you allow people to determine how much AI should be intervening in their content. What have you seen as sort of the hallmarks of really high quality content that you can tell, like beyond citations and statistics and quotes, like there, how do you guide clients to be like, it's quality if it can elevate up to these standards?
Yeah, yeah, great question. I think that's a key point right now. And and this is what we do internally. Internally, we've had reasonable success with sort of traffic and kind of million visitors a month plus. And the kind of core message that we have both internally and then I share is that you need to think beyond words. And so if you're adding value with just words in a world where words are being produced, coherently, intelligently by these LLMs, and you're fighting with hey, my words are better, more clever, that's a challenge. And so adding value to your audience beyond just words is I think the key in sort of today's search. So that can be those things we just talked about, this stats, the unique data, quotes, unique perspective. It can also be other things like free tools, primary data that can be used for other people to do their own research. So thinking beyond words. What's the user? What's the person? What's the person's problem that they're trying to solve, and how can you best solve it with a page that and doing so beyond words. If all you can offer is words, what's the boiling point of water? There's no combination of words that you can put together that will result in you winning any traffic for somebody that's looking for that example. So yeah, thinking beyond words is sort of the message both internally and to others when we think about how to win today.
Yeah, and I love that you're elevating it up to really not just telling people information, but giving them an experience. And I think content becomes becomes more visible when it can cross channels and be online and offline. Like where are you providing so much value or such a rich experience that it also translates to something that they would take into a conference call or a trade show or a webinar and start to put it in places that have a lot of domain value. Because we also know that when you are on high domain value, like I'm sure now that you're cited at a late night show, like probably your visibility just shot way up because those networks have very high domain value. And so, yeah, when you take things out of just words and make them experiences that can add value, spark conversation, spark interest and engagement across channels, that's worth investing in.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I think yeah, no, it's I think the game has sort of like of marketing and has certainly changed, but I think a lot of aspects of it, certainly the kind of call it higher quality end of it has really remained the same. A lot of the same skill sets that worked 5 years ago are the same skill sets that can be used now with just I think an increased focus um, on helping solve problems for your audience.
So when we think about how much money marketers should be investing in, we've talked a lot about time, where are the right places to put their time, but has this shift impacted budgets? Like are we seeing more actual marketing dollars go towards content marketing today?
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't know. I think it's the other way. I would say that I think there's been a slight decrease in spend. I think we are seeing Google taking. So I think it's gonna down for now and then up. So the short answer is down for now and then up in the near future. And so there's been a lot of talk that sort of AI overviews and people that sort of go to either an LLM to find out and sort of start their journey to a transaction or go to Google to start that journey to transaction. Both of which AI now does a lot of the top of funnel stuff. And so a lot of companies are seeing decreased traffic from from Google that has not been totally compensated for with traffic from LLMs. But however, what they are seeing is improved traffic from both, meaning that the sort of the funnel where it's like, what is X? Like, okay, I need to buy, your background's got some fancy chairs in it. You need to buy chairs, then then you start that journey, look at some design, get some ideas. That is now all occurring within either LLM or often in AI overviews. And then that funnel is now collapsed to it's the transaction. People are moving off of those platforms to a site to book a call, buy the chair, whatever sort of the transaction is that is occurring on the site. So the transactions still happen on the site, but that sort of information collection is happening within LLMs more. And so right now people's budgets are declining, but I think because they've seen the sort of top metric around traffic declining, but as sort of they learn what the new conversion rates look like, we're going to see, I think, the marketing spend climb back up.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like the other reason why they've declined is directly related to marketers' overemphasis on getting more traffic. I feel like the metric of
Yep.
always being primarily focused on we spend money for traffic and conversions and sales. And that sounds really obvious. But where there's a massive opportunity in content and high quality content is also on retention. And to your point, if you are look at your core customers, who do you have now? And how are you delivering that value beyond the sale, giving them tools, giving them data they can use? Not only does that increase retention or help deliver your brand and your brand values in a way that hasn't been done before, again, it's also things that can be picked up by a really high quality domains that give you more visibility. And I feel that sometimes I'm like, that's very underutilized. A lot of business gets so hooked on new,
Yep.
and more and more and more, and are missing that opportunity of, we do have a community, we do have customers, and those people, especially if it's authentic, high quality, could be our greatest deliverers of virality that does then increase our visibility, across LLMs and search engines.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great point. Yeah, I think the evolution of like content marketing metrics being attached to like we produce content because we do top of funnel work is going to change in a lot of directions. I think initially it's like it'll be to conversions and to revenue, but I think retention is absolutely a place where the evolution of content marketing will continue to go, that your job as a content marketer is no longer going to be just to fill the top of the funnel, but it's to function in across the entire journey of customers.
Yep. And if marketers haven't spent any time looking at how much revenue they would generate if they increased their retention by even like 5-10%, they should. It's a tremendous impact. And again, it will give you that top of funnel, not immediately, but it's you can tell I just read a research report on retention because this is all like I'm like, oh my gosh, like this
Yeah.
we're really underserving the the leads we just closed. So we do a lot of B2B marketing, spend a lot of time
Yep.
focusing on quality, not quantity. And then now we're investing all this time in these high quality relationships, and then they're becoming extremely disappointed after they're onboarded. And like if companies really looked at what are we producing, and it's content. It's content and communications is the gap. So what's happening in those first 90 days after someone becomes a customer? And is there an opportunity to go above and beyond in value? Um, but yeah, I'm very bullish on content marketing. I think budgets should go up because just like challenges in relationships and marriages and whatever, communication usually ends up being the problem. And then also
Yep.
you can find a solution.
Yeah. No, it's a good point.
So, what are you most excited about as you look ahead at the next 12 to 18 months? What do you think CMOs and marketers should be preparing for?
I think traffic from Google will continue to decline. Traffic from LLMs will continue to increase. The quality of that traffic um, will continue to improve compared to what your current traffic is. And I think understanding those, like, hey, traffic is down 25%, that might not be a problem, but conversions are up 40%. That's great. And so, and retention up 5%. You know, I think understanding what am I most excited about is just sort of having a close eye on this transition that I think is inevitable. And I cannot imagine why this will not be the case in the future. And I think it's just gonna be a question on the rate and the impact of less traffic from Google, more traffic from LLMs. I can't imagine that it's not going to be the case in a year from now. And understanding the impact of that on someone's business and getting it right. So the company that sort of, if your competitors all freak out and stop spending on marketing because their top funnel traffic is down, but you have sort of analyzed the metrics enough to know, okay, oh great, but my value has increased by X, so I can increase sort of my customer acquisition cost by Y. I think that's going to be a really unique competitive advantage over the next couple of years as this sort of transition continues to shake out. It might be a few years, maybe 3-4 years, that until we sort of hit some kind of stability between LLM traffic to kind of Google traffic.
Yeah, I love that prediction. I think it's also interesting and very bold that, Google is leaning into these AI summaries to somewhat the detriment of their own cash cow, which is paid search.
Yeah.
And it it also shows, and some people say, well, if they're super rich, they can do that. But if you just take it at the concept level, you have to be willing to let go of those things that historically always worked really, really well for you. Don't figure out how much more to optimize paid search or even, as we know, cookies will be going away, paid media. Look at where do you need to be to deliver value first? Where does the content, the message, and the experience need to be? And lean into that.
Yeah.
So we're at time, John, that flew. I just looked at the clock and I'm like, crap. If people want to learn more about Originality.ai, where can they find more about that and where can they find you?
Yeah, you can find more about Originality at the site. We have all of our tools, AI detector, plagiarism checker, fact checker, grammar spell checker, all have a free tool that you can use to sort of evaluate how your content stacks up. And that's available. You can contact me at Jon at Originality.ai.
Perfect. And I definitely want to check out the tools. I love that. And if you want to learn more about Jon and see his bio, we'll link off to the site. And more leader generation episodes can be found at modop.com. That's MODOP.com. Jon, until next time, thanks so much for joining us.
Okay. Thanks, Tessa.